since I am still waiting on my partner, I am going to invite my guest, one of our guests on. You can come on as we wait. So we'll have two people talking. I sent it to your Facebook. Okay, well, hop on when you can. All right, so my partner's having technical difficulties, so let's just talk about it.
So,
Okay, start.
well, what are some of the questions about dating, or what's some issues or some concerns?
Well, I guess for the concerns, the quality of women and men. Some men say that, you know, women don't have standards anymore, and women are gold diggers about money. They don't want to date women with kids. And then women say the same thing. Men, the quality of men, integrity, honest.
Okay, well, quality is instilled, you know, everybody has their own perception of what quality is.
Mm-hmm.
Every one has a certain outlook based off, you know, their upbringing, their experiences. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, some things can limit us. You know, someone may say, well, hey, I never date a woman with 5 kids. I never date a man with 5 kids. I never date a man that works in McDonald's.
Okay.
But, you know, due to experience, one woman might have dealt with a guy that worked at McDonald's. He might have dogged out, or a guy with 5 kids. This woman might have looked for him for income. But that don't mean every woman with 5 kids is bad. That don't mean every dude that worked in McDonald's is bad. You know, so experiences just kind of limit us. I don't know what's the population of the world.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't dated everybody all across the world, but we just kind of, you know, give up.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. How many times do you walk and trip?
How many times I walk and trip? Like,
yeah, like stumble. Not that much, no. but you don't stop walking.
No, I keep walking.
You know, I mean, in life, you know, it's a lot of trials,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to get to a certain point in life. And, you know, you climb up a mountain and you stumble a couple of times, you're going to stumble a few times before you get to the top, and over the other side. Hell, you might even get to the other side and fall down.
Yeah, but I think out of fear, so if I could, I don't know if all women feel like this, but I can speak from a standpoint. I wasn't going to date anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked where do we meet each other? We're going to get to that. But I didn't want to, and for you, those of you, this is CJ. What you sipping on, CJ?
Oh, this is my Hennessy XO.
Okay. I wasn't going to date anymore because of my, you know, because of what I went through in my past, because of the hurt. And so I didn't want to open myself up to that same hurt. And then even, I don't know if it's like attracting that, so they say sometimes you keep attracting the same thing. So you have a relationship and you get with someone else and they liars or they cheaters. So you do eventually give up. And it's like, okay, what's going wrong? Why am I continuing to attract liars and cheaters? Or, you know, and it all starts out. So, you know, well,
if you burn yourself on the same stove, do you get another stove?
no, it's not burning yourself. What do you mean?
I mean, well, in life, people are who they are. Mm-hmm. Not everybody was raised the same, but you may come across, you may date 10 different guys. Mm-hmm. That don't mean every other guy out there is bad. That don't mean every other guy out there is a liar. You know, sometimes, you know, it takes us to change up a particular thing we may be doing. It takes some time to you know, look at, you know, self-reflection and say, hey, what could I possibly be doing wrong? But it may not be something that we're doing wrong. But if you go into a nightclub meeting guys all the time, you know what I'm saying? Or if you're looking in a particular place for a particular man or woman, but we all have shortcomings or shortfalls when we're seeking a match. You know, something might last for a couple of years, some may last for a couple of days, a couple of weeks before we find out the truth, but that doesn't mean every man or every woman out there is bad. And for men, we kind of go for the big button and smile. You know, we don't date a woman's mind. You know, a lot of men date a woman's body. You know, so that can be some things for, you know, men as well.
So when you decided to date, what were you looking for?
I mean, everybody's different. You know, I pretty much observe people,
Mhm.
observe their behavior. You know, I observe their movement. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a watcher. You know, and it's just some things that you can tell about a situation and see in a situation to understand. Okay, I see how this person moves.
Mhm.
You know, and in life, you know, things happen and make people change. You know, certain situations and circumstances may happen.
I'm reading Colette's post, and she said after my separation, I worked on myself for about 3 years until I thought I was ready. And with that being said, so after I, decided to leave my husband, I knew, first so I'm not pointing the finger, but to the point I knew I needed to work on me, whether, from hurt, from pain. And my thing is with what Colette said, it was important for me because us women, and I don't know if men do this, I would say like, I want me a good man, I want me 100% man. And I'm looking for this man, but I'm not working on me to be this good woman, this 100% woman for this man. And so then I'm wondering why I continue to attract these people that's meeting me halfway where I am. And so I had to work on healing. And don't get me wrong, I'm still a work in progress. I had to work on healing and figuring out, what Candace is looking for, but also understand my worth. Yeah, I just responded to Colette, and I think that was good. But then when I decided to date, first thing I decided, I think, was I just wanted to put that out there to the point like, hey, I ain't got time for no crap. Just wanted to be honest, get to know the person,
It's like a question you ask yourself: was getting to know a person? You know, I think more so a lot of women have timelines. Things may fall into that timeline. Things may not fall into the timeline. And, sometimes women rush things because the biological clock is ticking. It's various things, we as human beings, we're created to be, to have a partner, to have someone to help us with, daily life. But, we just come from two different upbringings, and each other's upbringings can clash, each other's ideals, each other's experiences and whatnot. We're different. So in the beginning, yeah, it's real happy-go-lucky, but once that feeling wears off, what's the next stage? You know what I'm saying? Now you starting to really see those flaws. Now certain things are really starting to get up under your skin, and then not even that, do we respect each other's space and time? It's just so much to work out in a relationship, even a marriage. It's easy to jump into, but it's harder to work at it, to maintain.
And dating just works to me, and so much is sometimes how long you wait. But to me, I feel we never truly get to know a person. Dating is work, and I've met some creeps. I met some men that just wanted, one thing, and I was about ready to give up. I guess, but my point is, I just had to, as I was dating, I could have gave up. I could have stopped, but when you start dating, I think it does matter where you come from. I think it does matter your beliefs, your not just your beliefs, where you come from, how you were raised. Not everybody saw a happy relationship or a healthy relationship. Not everybody was raised, with two parents, and if they were, and they don't realize that sometimes they pick up those bad, not lack of communication, cheating, and they think it's okay, like they're willing to accept certain things because of our background and the things we've raised up. So I think all that matters. And then we try to put two different households together, two different, what's the word I'm looking for? Mentalities, characters. And so that's where it clash. Keisha says she feels that you can never get to know a person. And I agree, because people do change, but people grow too. Right. And sometimes people not ready. Sometimes, I don't know, I'm not saying all men, but in my experience, I've heard more men say, oh, you changed. And to the point, you met me when I was either younger or this was 5 years ago. And so you fell in love with the 20-year-old me or that version of me, but you weren't ready to grow and change with me. I'm gonna invite Kanisha on. We got some guests who's gonna hop on with us.
One thing for certain, you know, in life, we kind of worry about the wrong things. It's you know, that's the good, you know, people ask the question, well, how long do I wait? Well, it's not a set rule or a set, you know, rule that say, well, this is the amount of time you wait a month, you wait 30 days, you know, you got the Steve Harvey 30-day challenge, whatever. I mean, everybody sets their own timeline. You know, you do what you feel is adequate or best for yourself, versus, you know, well, hey, but it's only been a month. This, you know, we moving too fast, or hey, I want to get married in a month. Each person, you know, individually knows their situation. Pretty much anybody else is just on the outside looking in, and anybody that has had a bad experience will tell you, girl, you moving too fast. But then you talk to someone that has met somebody in a week and they married, and they've been happily married for years, they'll tell you, hey, girl, it's up to you.
So welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Dotson. I don't know if you're, I can't hear you. Go ahead and talk.
Yeah, we can hear y'all. Hey, what's
Oh
going
yeah,
on?
we can hear you.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Okay, we can hear you. Hi.
Hi.
Introduce yourself.
I am Shakari Dotson.
Gabriel Dotson.
Hi, and it sounds like somebody else is hopping on. I think that is Kanisha. So we just we're just basically just touching up, talking about, first of all, dating. A lot of people have said, one that Ms. Jackson said that she decided to, once she left her husband, she decided to work on herself for 3 years. Someone else said that you can never fully know a person, you know, even if with a time frame, being with someone for a week, a month, a year, you can never fully know a person because they're changing. And the topic was, people are just scared to date. Like, how do you date?
Yeah.
So check
I
out.
think for us, so we're in Oklahoma City right now. This is where we currently live. I'm from Chicago, but he's from Phoenix. So we moved here in 2017, or I moved here in 2017. He moved here in 2016, and I moved here right after college, right after I graduated. And so I really wasn't even like looking into dating or looking into getting in a relationship. It was like, let me explore this new place that I'm in. We met at church, volunteering. We kind of kicked it off after Gabe remembered my name. But once we were like, okay, getting to know each other and just hanging out. I guess let me back up. I'm sorry. We were part of a young adult group at church. And so they were really big on just group hangouts. And so like Gabe and I hung out a lot within our church group, our young adult group. And so we actually like did not have like a one-on-one date probably 2 months into knowing each other.
It's less than that.
Less than a month. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
We met in the end of October and dated right before Thanksgiving that year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But once we set that up and we were like, we're gonna do this, the first thing we did was like made a list of expectations, and not expectations to hold for him and hold for me, like you need to do this, this, and this, but something that like we committed to do centered around like Christ.
So yeah, like she was saying, pretty early on, after like around the second or third day, we kind of very, very open and clear about the expectations we wanted from each other in dating. And so I know before I dated Shakari, it was something I was kind of just getting to know myself in Oklahoma City. So kind of really working on focusing on what I wanted to do myself in my career before I even kind of really got into seriously dating. And so yeah, again, kind of when Shakari and I met, it kind of just kicked off like that. And it was cool that we kind of talked about expectations and kind of, for us, took it to that next level of how serious we wanted to be with each other.
I don't know, you guys are kind of going in and out. I don't know if you have any gadgets on, like on Facebook, anything. I don't know if that's it. I had to turn mine off, but you guys are going in and out. Hey, Kanisha, welcome, Kanisha. Now, with that being said, now when him and I started dating, I guess for me, or just, I guess the timeline was for me. I was going to say what Chastity just posted, to me, something I would go to. I want to ask this question about being equally yoked. When you think of the definition of equally yoked, what do you think immediately? Is it?
I mean, equally yoked as far as being yoked in your vision in life, you know, your goals. Are we on the same level and, you know, accomplishments? I mean, you know, it's for every person, you know, when you look at relationships, to me, a relationship is a business partner. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what is it that you're trying to accomplish together? And within this, you know, you're seeking to grow. You know what I'm saying? You're seeking to mature. You're seeking to challenge each other. Not even that, you know, what are we trying to build together? You know what I'm saying? What are we aspiring together? You know, are we encouraging each other? You know, so everybody view things differently. You can have the same belief or believe in the same God. That don't mean you're going to agree on the same things. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, with the, you know, having those expectations, because you just can't expect something from somebody and expect them to do it like the couple was saying. You have to communicate with each other and say what each other's expectations are. And are these reasonable expectations that can be obtained, or is it just something, you know, fairy tale? You know, and allow the other person to say, well, hey, I can't live up to that.
Let me say something. As you said that, so I can remember before starting back today, something I thought about that when I was younger, or just in the beginning of like relationships. First, we have this fairy tale of what we want this relationship to be, and then it doesn't play out that way. We feel some type of way, but then two, we're scared. We're scared to have conversations. We're scared to ask questions. We hop in these relationships, and we expect. I at that time expected this person to know, you know, what I liked or what, you know, you should just figure it out, you know, to the point we were young. So it's like, if something bothered me, I'm not going to say it. We just started out, and, you know, you kept quiet instead of communicating. And then down the year, you know, years later, here it is now, something that's bothers me. Now I'm speaking up. Now, you know, now it's an argument, and vice versa, because we didn't have those, to me, hard conversations, or we didn't have those conversations to just lay it out on the table, our likes, our dislikes, our expectations, goals, etc. And that was something important to me when at this age where I am now, to ask those questions, because I don't want to play the guessing game or be surprised in the middle. Kanisha, unmute yourself, and you haven't talked yet about your thoughts on dating. You can even tell us a little bit about your relationship, and then we'll go from there.
Hi, everybody. Hey, Shakari Gate, CJ. So you want me to tell you my views on dating, or?
Go ahead. Go. You've seen the same post we saw where women said like they done dating. They're done. There's no man out here. I think we probably found maybe 5 on one hand that's, you know, either getting married and they're okay, and we know a few people that's actually separated.
Okay. Well, so hold on 1 second.
I can't hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Mommy said get some. Okay, so hold on 1 second. I don't know.
Just mute it. You go ahead, Shakari and Gabe. You can mute it.
I don't know. I'm gonna get on my laptop.
Okay.
I don't know my. Okay.
All right. So I guess we go back and go ahead. Just discussing dating, relationships, being equally, you know, what was your expectation when you decided when you wanted to date, and what do you think about equally yoked? Your definition of it.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of for us, it started with having that same belief in God. So we kind of started there, and then it started there. That was the foundation. It kind of moved on from there, kind of having those same goals. I think we both kind of spoke to that in agreement that, hey, we both are kind of want that career work-life balance, work-life and family balance, to understand each other's career goals, because I know that can be a tension a lot of times that, if I had gone into this expectation, expecting her to be a housewife and she didn't want that, that wasn't going to work out. But we kind of just laid out kind of what we wanted career-wise, what we wanted from a family. I mean, pretty candid about how many kids we wanted. And this was all before, we weren't trying to all kind of just laying our intentions out there. We weren't trying to kind of put a true timeline on it, but just really getting to know what the other person wanted before, we got serious, and then kind of realized we weren't on agreement in a lot of things that were important to us. And so that was just kind of that equally yoked idea is, hey, let's really understand kind of on these core things that, you're always going to have, I feel, when you go into dating, things that you willing to compromise with, and things that, are, again, your core values that you want to lay those off. You don't want to compromise those. So that was kind of what we talked about. Hey, this is what's important to us, with our career, with our faith, and with what we want in a family eventually. And then once we kind of kicked that off and kind of got to that understanding, even though it wasn't level ground in dating, I think dating, there shouldn't be expectation to be completely in agreement. I mean, you're two different people, and Shakari, we're still figuring that out, even though we're kind of going into 2 years of marriage this May. There are a lot of things that we're different in just because of upbringing and background. She's talking about she's from Chicago, I'm from Phoenix, so that was two different cities that we were growing up in. So we're still balancing things out like that.
Okay. We have a comment. So it says, Colette said, dating is trash. I have been dating this older guy and he still is not ready for a relationship. I was gonna ask everybody opinion for that, and that's my thing. We don't got time to waste. Leave him. I don't see a point you wasting your time. He's not ready for a relationship, and there's no timeline. It's just to you. If you're ready and he's not, there's no connection. So it's time to move on.
Yeah,
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
So jumping in with that comment. So from my experience, a person that says that they're not ready to date just don't want to date you. Or they are entertaining somebody else that's more appealing at that particular moment to them, or they like straddling the fence, because there's been a lot of men who will be like, oh, I don't want to date. And then like maybe a month after y'all stop talking, they pop up and they all in love.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've noticed that if the man is saying that, that's because he wants to keep you around, but don't necessarily want you to be that person until I guess they might want to see about the other person first, then
Test the waters.
And then come back. But majority of the time when a man says that, that's because because if they meet somebody that's for them, they're gonna change. Anybody that's for you, or any door that's for you, is gonna open with no problems. But in my past experiences, anybody that has ever like, oh, I just want to kind of be friends, or kind of say that, yeah, they usually are just not wanting that particular person.
Now, do you think there's a timeline? So when you're dating, when you start dating to meet somebody, when do you start? When is there a timeline to start talking about your future, your goals, finances, kids? Is there a timeline for that?
I'll jump in on that. I think I was going to say, very early on when Gabe and I officially started dating, this was maybe probably 4 or 6 weeks in, we talked about a lot of things that I think people would save for marriage, such as we talked about finances. And that's a huge one. Cause we had that early on, we had different perspectives on our finances and different goals and what that meant for us in our singleness, and also because of that perspective we had in our singleness, that would transfer over into when we're married. And so even being able to get on the same page at that stage about something that's so paramount to a lot of relationships, a lot of marriages, it's key. And so I don't think that there is a specific timeline. Like, I'm not going to tell someone that, like, within 3 months or within 4 months, you should have talked about these things. But I think that that comes organically as you are, setting those intentions. And, also a huge part of that is like knowing what you're wanting when you're coming into a relationship. I think like a lot of people, whether it's women or whether it's men, make a lot of excuses for the other person as to why they're going to stay in a relationship for X amount of whatever years, or why they are not going to be in a relationship with someone. So I think that you need to identify boundaries. You need to identify things that you're going to be like, okay, I can compromise on this because this does not, take away from the integrity of who I am as a person. And not going to change me once I get into that relationship. I think that I think that's almost where like people, like that's detrimental to people. And so you get the group of people who's been with, their partner for 10 years and there's no true commitment there. And then you get the people in the relationship that's comfortable, and marriage and making that type of commitment is not a priority for them, because they have all those things.
Okay. Oh, hey, Monique.
Hi, Monique. They have all those things in the relationship already.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Well, let me say, it was something you said and I want to touch. Dang, I should have wrote it down. It was something that you said, as far as the beginning. I wanted to let you finish, but I want to comment on that.
Well, while you were thinking about that, so being like newly engaged, my intake is, I feel like like if you guys are on the same page. So if you're on the same page, then I feel like if like this is the person that you want to build with, and both of you guys know that, then I feel like, yeah, that should be talked about early on. So that way, as you guys are growing into your relationship, the expectations that each other have. And then, and things can change where, it's, if how you feel about if you lose your job. Because like a lot of sometimes with men, and I guess women, but if they lose their job and they don't have money, then like they feel like kind of less of a man. And then it's like, how, that's this conversation, because you have to make sure that they understand, I got you. But if this happened, then, we have just stuff in place.
I think that, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, what you have to understand is it's not about, a woman can tell a man all day long, if you lose something, I got you. But what women have to understand, if you take away the financial aspect of a man to be able to provide for a woman, a lot of men don't know how to provide for a woman outside of financial. They don't know how to provide emotionally. They don't know how to provide spiritually. They don't know how to provide mentally. So for some men, once you take away the physical aspect of bringing home money, they lost after that. You know what I'm saying? It's a pride thing. Because a lot of men wasn't taught. They don't know how to fill in that void right there once the financial side is taken away.
That's actually a really good point. I never really thought about it like that. But but it's still like that. Sometimes pride ain't a good thing though. So, but I never thought about it that way. But yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, pride can get in the way, but sometimes that's all men know. Men feel like, okay, well, I'm paying the bills, so I'm bringing this home, but that's enough. And so, like he said, when that aspect is taken away, nothing else to do. And some women are okay, depending on what their background. Some women are okay, well, all you got to do is go, pay the bills, go to work, and I'm okay. And it is missing companionship, communication, all that stuff. Welcome, Monique. I'm gonna just tune you in, because we were actually talking earlier about dating, and how in the beginning of dating, how it's one way, everything is happy, and Kanisha showing us what she's sipping on, which is probably apple juice. Everything is
I'm sipping on my tea, y'all.
And then you don't have that conversation to say, what did we say? You know how what did we say? We said how everything turns out in one way in the beginning. And then, it starts to fade. What you did to get me, you're not still doing to keep me. And sometimes it's not intentional. It's, you going on with your life, you growing apart, things happen. And so that's why sometimes it's okay to circle back and say, hey, how are you feeling? Or is there anything that I can do? You have that conversation. So I guess communication would be the topic right here.
I think us as adults versus the younger us, we have to be open to having the uncomfortable conversations that don't want to be had. And I'm just speaking from myself and my relationship. Most of y'all might know me and Bam been together forever. So I seen earlier where you say like, you fell in love with the younger me, the teenage me, when I didn't even know who I was. But the adult me, the woman me now, I got demands. And I ain't gonna say demands, but I got needs that need to be met emotionally. So my problem be I don't understand, how to communicate sometime for him to understand. Like I could communicate to say, like, this is what I need, A, B, C, and D, but I can't beat him to do it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a fight for the struggle. And even though I point out my mishaps or even give him the option to say, well, what do you need from me? But he be like, everything's fine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think, what you gonna think?
Well, it's like you writing a book, right? Are you a good writer? You're gonna hire a publisher, right?
Yeah, I'm learning as I go.
So in life, sometimes the same way you just communicated that, you may find somebody or have a friend that can write real good. As you talking to your friend, they can write it and you say, here, baby, I got something that I want to give to you. Allow him to read it, whether it's verbally or you're writing it down for him, is you trying to express yourself. Because a lot of times, we're able to, like, you can have a conversation to yourself and say, well, hey, I'm gonna tell him this, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say that.
Oh,
but
no,
I see it. You know what I'm saying? But when it's actually time for you to have a conversation, it doesn't come out like that.
Well, I'm learning. I have learned over the years to be really better with communicating and not letting it get to that point where it come out like in anger.
Right,
or
but
I hate you.
I was referring to the point when you said you had your emotional needs or something, what you have that's not being met, but you don't know how to communicate that to him.
Oh, so, no, I know how to communicate it, but I need him to do action.
Well, those one of the things, just put it this way. Application is a mug. I was about to say something else, but application is a mug. So application is the hardest thing for anybody to be able to do. We can talk it, but can we apply it?
Exactly.
So some people are just stuck in their ways, but once we understand, change is a good thing. But a lot of us, we just want to stay inside of this box, and nothing else outside of this box pertains to us. So in relationships, we're going to change for the better. Okay. Oh, in relationships, the change is for the better, and the change is always good because we're pushing each other to be better ourselves. And sometimes it's just hard to look in the mirror and see that you're not that person. Because we're comfortable with the person we've been 30 years, 40 years.
And that's
50,
what I think,
50
comfortability.
years.
But, I think we all, women and men, change and evolve with age, with time.
And everybody.
No, some people stay stuck in their ways. And I've heard people say, I'm this way, I've been this way. And it's like, that's scary. But to me, that's your sign. That's your sign to go,
How long do you sit and wait on somebody to make those changes?
Oh, no, you don't. Once I feel like this, once I communicate it, it's up to you to show me that you're willing to do it. But to me, I feel like men have a harder time communicating, being verbally.
Well, once again, remember what I was saying. Look at time. All men knew how to do is to go to work, bring home the check, sit on the couch, read our newspaper, no contact, no no talking with the kids, leaving me alone, plate in the oven or plate in the microwave. You know what I'm saying? And that's it.
Okay.
So after generations and generations of saying that, you know what I'm saying, a person's father, a person's grandfather, great grandfather. So these are things that has been passed down. You look back at in the biblical days, you know what I'm saying? Men were only sent off to war, and men only trained the sons to be soldiers and knights. The women were the nurturers. Men, we knew nothing of that. So we're stepping into a whole new arena where we have to learn these ways. And if no one has ever taught us this, it's just like, this is who I am. I don't know no other,
But they have to,
no other way.
they have to be open though. You have to be open. You have to learn.
Everybody has to be open, but it's each person's choice of decision. What are they going to choose to deal with?
Right, but if this is the person that you love, and this is the person that you want, you're gonna change for that person. You have, if you don't know how to do something, then you have to be open to learning. Like, it's not an excuse to say like, no, this just the way I am. This is what I was taught. When I'm sitting here crying to you, telling you, I need a hug, I need a kiss, I need love, I need this. So if I'm telling you this, and you're just like, well, my granddad only sat on the couch, and you know, like, that's not going to.
Let me tell you what you gonna sound like. You gonna sound like a nagging woman.
And then
hold on. That's when you.
Well, like if I'm telling you I need some emotional needs met, and all you hear me saying is want, then that's when I would probably have to evaluate me. Because if I'm begging you for something, like I'm needing this, when I'm supplying every need that you have, I'm asking you, do you need anything? I'm doing all these things, but you can't give me what I need, then that's gonna make me have to reevaluate, am I in the right place? Like, you can't tell me, oh, I'm complacent at this, and think that I have to be okay with that, because I don't think that the person will be okay if he was asking me for something that I just absolutely would not provide to him. And I just like, well, this is just how I am.
You know, that's when you get to know your partner and yourself as well. Because some people are just set in their ways if that's their upbringing, and it's not an excuse. But they are, and they don't see that they have any need to change. Shakari and Gabe, chime in anytime. You guys been together for 2 years. Has there, within these 2 years, well, you guys dated before then and then been married for 2 years. Has there been any changes that you guys noticed that you guys had to kind of communicate and work on?
Yeah, no, I was just taking it in, but I think the way I evaluate it is kind of as you're growing. I mean, it's gonna be an ongoing process for me. Everything I do, it's always an ongoing process of understanding where you're at, adapting to that, and then kind of understanding where you're going. And that's kind of it's a cycle. So I've always telling Shakari, like, when we started dating, we talked about expectations.
Mm-hmm.
When we got into engagement, we talked about expectations. As we're in marriage, we talk about expectations, because like y'all are saying, I feel like if it's healthy, you're gonna grow. You don't want to stay the same way. I'm 28 now. I'm not the same as I was 20 and 28. And Shakari's, well, when we started dating, that I was 24. So Shakari's already seeing that, and I'm seeing the same thing. She's not the same as she was when we started dating about 4 years ago. And so it's kind of understanding and seeing that, and kind of adapting to it day in and day out. And that's where I think the communication comes in. It's just like, what's changing between us, kind of always getting agreement what we're okay with, because, I think my determination is always kind of, we got to be lockstep in this. And if we're not, what gear and what part of the cycle is keeping us from being lockstep? Where do we kind of stop there to evaluate that, to get back into being in lockstep? So I think really just think what kind of sometimes we become complacent in at times. It's like, I mean, do it all the time. It's just like that evaluation of where we're at and kind of really being honest about it. Because it's hard. I mean, I think it's really just kind of, addressing what's hard and kind of just doing the work to get back into
Being willing to do the work, Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say Gabe does a really good job with communicating. And I attribute a lot of that to just his upbringing versus my upbringing. And so, I mean, I come from a single parent household. And so, I mean, my mom loved us dearly. But like, we didn't necessarily like, we didn't communicate in a way where it was like, how was school? You know, and those little conversations build up over time to, you know, the person you grow into. And so Gabriel had that type of upbringing growing up. And so when I say that he's a good communicator, I'm like, oh, why we got to talk about this? And I mean, it could be the littlest thing. And
I
I'm
thought that was just
like,
the
why?
real.
And so like I've learned just being with him that like you can't, like over communicating is not a thing. And so if you are, you know, moving in a direction where, you know, your relationship is going to thrive, like having the smallest conversation matters. And at the same time, choosing the battle where there is disagreement. And so, am I gonna, you know, argue you to the grave that, you know, you didn't lock the door this morning? And I could argue all these scenarios that could have happened because you didn't lock the door. And so, yeah, I mean, that huge thing with us dating and just going into 2 years, it's like you over communicating is not a thing. And so whether that's me, you know, letting him know, I didn't like how you said, you know, like said this, or I didn't like what you did. And we've had those kinds of conversations, and not necessarily like right in the moment. But, so I am more so like, let me process. And Gabe's like, let's talk about it now. And so, which is funny because I think growing up, I was pretty like, I want to talk about it right now. Like, no. And so I think just my experiences with dating and all the other, you know, experiences I've had growing up has, you know, allowed me to take that position where I want to process more. Cause growing up, I was pretty hot. Like, high-headed, you know, and so, you know, my words would come in, you know, turn into actions. And so I think just being a processor now and then coming, you know, the next day or the weekend and like, hey, I didn't like this. And then we'll sit and we'll talk it through. And it's like, okay, well, how do you want me to respond when, you know, when things are like this? And so, and I mean, and in that same thing, we try to have a lot of, I'm just not a lot because I'm busy. I'm a teacher, you know, it's but we try to have like date nights pretty frequent. Especially, you know, our schedules are pretty busy. So, you know, and I think I was sharing this with someone the other day, but my favorite date nights are like maybe when we just had a disagreement. And so like it's forcing us to sit down because I mean, we're not going to cancel a reservation or what we're going to do. That's our date night. So it forces us to sit down and, you know, when we just talk. And I think maybe like a few months ago, we had a date night and it was, you know, right after we had a disagreement. And it was like one of the best date nights we've ever had. Like we talked, we resolved, we dreamed about some things that we, you know, that's happening for us this year. And I'm just like, I walked away and I was like, man, like this was a great date night. And all it was is that we just talked, like what, you know, which direction our relationship is going, you know, what are some things that we hope for in the future. And so it was just great.
I think that's because communication is really, really important. T, come on, chime in. You know, we was having technical difficulties, but this is, you know, my partners, my number two. You might know.
To me, I like what they just said. Like I said, communication has value. Communication nowadays is really a lost art because grown people don't know how to talk to each other or really deal with each other. You know, in a matter of, you know, communicate with each other. I mean, the simplest thing is just tell somebody how you feel. You know, like, okay, look, this was going on with me, so and so, this and this, you know, to resolve issues that you have with each other. So I feel like communication it has value because a lot of people don't know how to communicate.
Me, I want you to tell me everything. I want you to tell me everything. Like To me, communication, like it doesn't always have to be an argument. Even if you're presenting something to somebody that you don't like, what I learned is like intention and impact. You doesn't like get when Gabe said to you whatever he said to you that you didn't like. Even though Gabe might be like, I didn't really mean to say it like that. But if it impacts your partner, then you should not it shouldn't be something swept under the rug. You have to understand like, oh, I'm sorry that made you that made you feel that way. I'm sorry that hurt your feelings, but I'll do something. I'll do it better next time. So it's like when you communicate, like I say, communicate about everything with me. Tell me everything. If something's bothering you, talk to me. I'd rather you do that than sit around huffing and puffing or sit around thinking about something that could be really easily to resolve. Like you stressing yourself out over something that you could have just easily said to somebody. So I'm like, I don't care how small it is, how big it is, like just talk, like tell me. As long as you know how to bring it up to a person is able to be receptive of what you're saying. I think communication shouldn't ever be like a want type of feeling. I think communication, like you should always listen to your partner and your partner should always listen to you, because that's like how y'all gonna be able to grow. Like you can't evolve if you're not communicating with each other like that.
You can agree to disagree too.
Yeah,
People have
you
to
can.
understand it. Like, long as we come to a common ground, but you can agree to disagree.
Because we different. We all have different
Exactly.
perceptions. So if like I might look at this and be like, oh, the sky is gray. You like, no, the sky is blue, but this part is gray because it's gonna storm or something. It's like our perceptions are different. So that doesn't necessarily mean like, okay, I see gray, you see blue, whatever. Perceptions is what it is. So you can't, make somebody agree with you all the time. And I'm good. I love a good debate. Persuade me, because I'm not easily persuaded. So tell me why this guy is great. I'm gonna listen to you. So
But I think with Sha'Carri and Gabe, so the thing is, we have a disagreement at this very moment, we're not gonna hear each other out. But when they did go sit down and have a date night, the mood, everything had changed from at that moment with the disagreement. So sometimes it's not the right time and place to, to have that conversation. If you guys are in a heated argument or we disagreed at that moment, ain't nobody listening to each other. So sometimes there is a time to go to your corners, you know what I'm saying, and set a time to have that conversation. And for me, I had to learn myself that, because I think women do this. We make this laundry list. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what happened with this thing that just happened at 9 o'clock. But I've been holding what happened last month and a month before last. So now this happened at 9, but I'm going to give you the list. Well, in January you did this, and in October you did this, and now it does become womp 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 womp. The conversation has went left. This guy has shut down. He's not listening because, oh, I thought we were going to focus on the problem right now. In January, you didn't talk to me about this. So now it seems like you're picking, and you got this list of problems, and all to me, I don't know, you guys can tell me. Now all he hears is, oh, I'm just this problem. That's it. I'm just this problem because you had this problem with me here, then you had this problem with me there, versus because we didn't communicate that, and we can't hold that in. And that's why I say the younger me used to hold stuff in because I didn't want to argue, or I didn't want to be, confrontational, or whatever the case may be. And then when we did have something, now I pop, versus we didn't communicate. Even if he didn't want to, even if didn't want to listen, we didn't communicate that. And I came from something we really didn't communicate, but
I was gonna also just chime in that something that we try to, just try to remember, at least more so for me, but as our marriage and things is just grounded and centered around Christ, just remembering that let's be kind to each other when we use our words. Let's remember that, I'm God's daughter. He's God's son. Would he be pleased if I'm going in on him? And it doesn't even it can be like, Gabe's, I'm not fazed by what you're saying, but is God pleased with that? And so those are things that we keep in the back of our minds. And also not going through a list of things like you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. And if that is the case, figuring out how to share that, you know, with him or him with me, so that I don't feel like I'm just doing everything wrong. But like, how can you tell me these things in love and I don't feel like, you know, an insecurity, or that it doesn't cause more harm to our relationship. So
I think it's, go ahead.
I like what she just said, well, in relationships, when I say relationships, it's rather, friends, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. You have to understand what love is. If you don't understand what love is, you cannot center anything around it. Well, that's the thing, that's the difference. If when you meet people, if you ask certain questions like, what's your definition of, or how do you view, what's your understanding of it? It can allow you to, understand the person, where a person come from, because a person's views can say a lot about them.
And the actions too.
Exactly. So now,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, bro.
Oh, my bad, bro. I'm a people watcher, so I'm always observing. Actions is everything to me. I mean, conversation is free, but actions is everything. So
there you go.
Learning, somebody's love language, or how they move, or just the details that people don't really pay attention to. I do. You see what I'm saying? Just okay, she got an attitude this day about this, or she like this kind of food, or it just in general, it's just like, that's why I go back to communication. Communication has value. You got to learn how to be able to communicate with each other. See what I'm saying?
But that takes work, because I didn't grow up in a house where the adults communicated. So I had to make a choice. Now my dad, my biological dad communicated a lot. He was very emotional and over what you call it, affection and everything. So he communicated. So he did that. But I had to make a sound choice to say, I don't want to be like this, so I had to really work on me, and not everybody does that. I had to work on me and take accountability and acknowledge my shortcomings and things I need to work on. And so what I was going to say was,
No, I was going to say, people need to heal too. People need to really heal.
Need to heal, because people take their hurt into new relationships. And me and someone's just talking about this, that if I went through something and something resembles something similar, it's not fair to me to take my hurt out on him. And he like, what I do, I don't even know what's going on. So before you get into something, you do need to heal, because you can't punish this new person, female or male, for something that you've been through, something that looks similar. And but I was going to say in the beginning, I think we asked each other, one of the questions we asked was, how do you argue? What do you think about arguing? Because we know you have disagreements, and it was important to know that when we argue, or if we have a disagreement, that we're not going to yell and shout at each other, that we're not going to call each other, cuss each other out, because that's really important to me. And but these are the conversations you have to know how, in the beginning of dating, because we weren't official yet, to know how this person communicates, how this person is going to argue. Because everything in the beginning is always going to be flowers and roses, but you're going to know eventually you're going to have a disagreement. You're going to argue. So how will you argue? Are we going to cuss each other out, shout at each other, be disrespectful, or are we going to talk it out? So that was really important to me. But I had to work on me, and I had to know what I didn't want, understand my worth, and this time at my age, what am I looking for? And am I willing, if I don't see it, if I'm willing to walk away? So that's what a lot of us new, people in our 30s now, I don't know if your 20s, if you know this information, but in your 30s and 40s, if you still doing the same thing, going into relationships, not communicating, going into relationships, and I'm not going to say, I don't know, maybe this is being judgmental, diving in the bed first, because now you don't know this person. You know what I'm saying? So now you don't know this person. You dived in the bed, and the feeling was good, and now you're ready to start a relationship. You don't know how he communicates. You don't know his history. You don't know where he come from, and now you have all these problems because you guys didn't have that conversation.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, I think a huge thing too is we've been talking about kind of love, and I hear like understand love languages and healing, all that to me kind of just states, when you're in a relationship with someone, the more serious you get, you gotta learn to be vulnerable. And I think that's something that's hard for a lot of people. That was hard for me. It's just because you really, once you kind of learn to be vulnerable, you're really kind of telling that person, hey, I'm trusting you with X, Y, and Z. That's something that's really hard for all of us, just to start really trusting someone, because honestly, you don't know what that person will take with kind of what you're giving them and how they'll use it. I think you're really trusting that, you know, the way you're loving them, they're going to love you right back. So I think that's kind of, you have to be that way, because if you put up walls and you're just in a relationship with two people putting up walls, that's not going to work either. That's just going to create distance over time. So it's really kind of, you know, taking that leap forward and kind of being vulnerable with the person you're trying to grow in a relationship with.
And then to kind of piggyback on what you said about healing first, I just like in the thing, okay, so you can heal, you could have your therapy, you can be in a really good place, but you're human.
Right.
So if this person is doing something that reminds you of something, me personally, I don't feel like you have to take it out on them, but I feel like you should communicate your feelings to them, because honestly, we're still like, our hearts are still vulnerable. Like we're still like, we still are human. So we're like, oh, you know, this kind of makes me feel just this type of way, or like I'm a little insecure in this area, you know, like, so love me a little harder in this area. I don't feel like that's unfair. I don't feel like you're necessarily not even a healed person, because that's something that you went through. That's a trauma that you've seen. So if they're, and honestly, you can't get mad at them, of course, not at all, because they don't know that this is something that this person did that made you think about this. But I would still communicate with them that like, hey, can we not do that? You know, because I mean, if he keeps doing it and it keeps making you feel some type of way about it, then, and you're not communicating it and they keep doing it, then you're damaging yourself too, because you don't want to throw it on them, but they keep doing the same thing. So it's like, that's why I feel like you have to communicate. You don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not completely healed, but it is things that we're human. So we have to tell them like, hey, that makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Okay, but us as adults, when do we work on our own insecurities? Because some of it be insecurity and it means nothing behind it. Like it could be something so simple. You see what I'm saying? That could remind you of your past history that brought this insecurity on. So when do we be accountable for ourselves to be like, okay, this is something I need to work on because it's a problem.
I know for me, I literally like, I self-talk, I talk to myself or in my head a lot. Like if I notice like I am having certain thoughts or I'm feeling a certain type of way, I literally sit up here and I'll ask myself, okay, Shakari, like why, like what's going on? Why are you feeling this way? And sometimes like I'll share with Gabe, or I'll share with, you know, some of my best friends. And like, that gives me an accountability marker. So that I'm not only just like in my own head, but like, this is actually something that like I'm struggling with. And it's not like I want to struggle with this, but like I'm trying to get over this. And so like when I'm telling people that I trust, it creates like an accountability marker. And so that's something that helps me. And I think that's just like, it's a ongoing process. And so I think as us being humans, there's going to be something that's going to, you know, surface within us or within a situation and an experience that brings up feelings of insecurity. Because as humans, we're always wanting more, or we're always wanting something that's better, or whatever the case may be, whether that's, you know, our relationships with our significant others, friendships, families, job, finances, whatever that is. I think identifying that it's a natural feeling. We don't have to hate ourselves for it. We don't have to be mad at ourselves for, you know, feeling this way, but allowing ourselves to feel that, and then doing the work to then resolve, you know, that feeling. And sometimes it's not overnight. So.
Anything? I know we're getting ready to wrap up. Anything you want to say, T? I know T and Mooney kind of hopped on late. Anything you guys want to discuss? I know we had conversations about self-worth, you know, women, you know, getting in relationships and knowing their worth. And the same thing, one thing that, you know, T and I talked about when T said, he know his worth. And I never heard a guys say that. You know, I always hear women say that, like, I know my worth in a relationship.
I know my worth. I know what I bring to any situation. I know my value, and I'm not settling for less for anything. And that's just part of me just being who I am. That's why I carry my discipline as far as the way I move, my hard work. I mean, like I said, I got a lot of value. I'm an upgrade to any situation I'm in. So I know that as a man that I'm not going to settle for less. I have before, and that's my fault. But you know, when you're honest with yourself and you're working on yourself and you healing yourself, you won't settle for less. So that's why I'm at the point I'm at in my life.
Let me ask
And
this question. I know, go ahead, I'm
agree-
sorry.
I agree with him on that. Like, before I always point the finger, I always, now that I remember, it's 3 pointing back at me. So I always try to lay out my flaws or things that I can do better or that I can change. That way my partner won't feel like it's always attack, attack, attack.
Mm.
But younger me, no, I want them.
Yeah, I was gonna say something as we wrap up. Men, I want to ask the men. Gosh, I need to write it down. That's why I shouldn't be sipping on this red wine.
You know what?
I was gonna ask something, and what you guys would say to the women who put themselves out there and then say there's no good men, or what they say, there's no good men and there's no point in dating.
I say trust the process and keep working on yourself. You're only responsible for what you can control, and that's you. So every day you just got to keep adding value to yourself every day. I mean, you got to be patient. You got to be patient.
Mhm.
You got to. It's a patient process. The pickings is slim. I'm just gonna be honest, but like I say, I would say just work on yourself every day.
Hey, he said it better, you know, he said it, but you know, I don't know what the population is. You know, you might have dated 10 men, or if you're hanging around a bunch of heartbroken women as, you know, men bashing. I mean, you how many states we got? 50? How many continents and countries we got? You know what I'm saying? The world is big. You ain't dated every man out here. You know, try go to another country and find some, you know what I'm saying, a man
It's
that'll love you. You know what I'm saying?
It's somebody for everybody.
Exactly. But one thing real quick, in America, we've lost our values because we never had values. But you go to other countries, you have men and women that have values. You know what I'm saying? So we lost here. It's like we're a melting pot. We gravitate towards whatever it is, but we have no true values here.
If I could pick greed, it's greed. Because I always say that, like, you see how in Jamaica, when I've been to Jamaica 4 times, and they worship they women over there, like, and they don't have much either, but everybody's so happy over there. You come to the United States, everybody's so nasty, and we're the richest country. We got a lot of money, but it's greed, like everybody. So men don't know how to only be faithful to one woman. Some women don't know how to be faithful to one man. So I feel like that's where a lot of why people hurt, and that's why people scared to date. But the poll is low because a lot of men, the good men, honestly get hurt by the women, and then the good women get hurt by the bad men, and it's like it's just you got to find the person for you. And I think if you don't go into if you're dating and you don't go into the relationship automatically thinking like, this man ain't no good, he gonna hurt me, he gonna cheat on me, he gonna do this, and just let it flow instead of like already speaking negative into your relationship. Like, you got to speak positive. You got to say, okay, let's see how this go, this, that, like, you know, and I feel like that's a lot of problems. The greed.
Go back, Kanisha, they go back to heal. You got to heal. If you already come into a situation negative, you have to heal. You know what? I'm not ready for this situation. You got to be honest with yourself.
No,
Yeah,
I
that's true.
back to what Gabe and Shakira said, that a big part communicating what are your expectations. Like Gabe said, we communicated when we dated, what's your expectations? Then when we became engaged, what's your expectations? Because it's like, you can want the moon, the stars, and the sun. That's what you want from me, but what are you giving me? on the same token. So I don't think it's about like greed or whatever. Like everybody got their own expectations, what they want from a relationship. Some people, it could be just as simple as time. Then you got some women or men that they feel like they want money or they want sex. So I don't think it's that. I think it all fall back down to communicating what's your expectations before you pull a trigger to say, okay, we're gonna be boyfriend and girlfriend, or we're gonna get married, or we're gonna be engaged.
And another thing too, people need to start meeting the requirements that they require. Because you cannot get something for nothing. You cannot get something for nothing. That's not good math. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Totally agree.
For real.
I want to hear from Gabe. If you remember my question, I want to ask the guys. You know what I said. Do you remember?
No, I remember the question. And I was gonna say I'm gonna add to a lot of what they're already saying. Kind of, patience. It's a process because, I was actually gonna go back to expectations, like, and what you're saying about knowing your self-worth is when you go into that and kind of knowing what you're expecting, what you want, you're not gonna kind of settle for the guy that's expecting less from you. So you're not gonna kind of, just allow that to be treated anyway. If you kind of put that out there and kind of read what they're looking for, even if you're just the only one putting yourself out there, you kind of, even from like, early on, you're not gonna kind of see that behavior later on because you're not just accepting anyone who's gonna kind of treat you like that later on. So I think it kind of comes out with kind of putting out your expectations almost from the get-go. And sometimes, we kind of sometimes don't want that because we'll put it out there and the other person's gonna be like, I don't want that, see ya. And that may hurt, but in the end, that's kind of better off. You kind of don't want to be with someone longer that's not gonna really want your expectation if you put them out there from the get-go.
And get to actually know the person that you're dealing with. Make sure that they mindset, they lifestyle, and they hustle align with yours. That way they bring value to the table.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. So I just want to ask that everybody say individually, with dating or starting dating a relationship, just something that's important, and we'll wrap up. So I'll start. For me, it was consistency. I would say the one thing: consistency, honesty, and communication. I think I addressed that. I said that in the beginning. Wrap it up really quick. I said that in the beginning, it's really important for me to have consistency, and I know things change. Honesty, because I need to be able to trust, and communication. How if things change, and if I'm doing something that you don't like, or that's affect, like sometimes we from different places, so I might do something and realize that it bothered you, or it was disrespectful, annoyed you, and vice versa. So it's really important to, like, say, expectations, know that person, and communication was important.
And it's foundation, the foundation of your morals, foundation of, your principles, that's what mine basically is.
Okay, Kanisha, you at the bottom, so go, make it quick. No, not 10 minutes.
Right, why can't you have 10 minutes? But
That's two, take it down.
for me, I would have to say it was just like us kind of being on the same page as far as just having fun, enjoying each other, talking to each other, communicating, him understanding my vulnerabilities. Because like in the beginning, I just laid it all out of, because I had been single for 3 years. So I knew I was ready. When he came to me, I wanted him to be ready. And if he came to me, then he had to be ready. If he wasn't, he had to get ready. I think he got ready though, But anywho, yeah, but we just had to have that good chemistry where we was able to have fun and be serious, and just him loving me in spite of whatever I go through and vice versa, whatever I went through and vice versa.
Monique?
My biggest thing is communicating and your actions meeting up with what you're communicating. A person can say anything out their mouth, but you got to show me action now in this day and time.
T?
They for value, loyalty, commitment, respect, common courtesy. That's it. That's all.
Gabe,
Yeah, I was kind of looking for just someone who was caring. That was kind of first and foremost thing. Yeah,
did you find her
I,
yet?
I knew that was
No,
gonna.
I'm just-
Where's she at? Where she at though?
Kanisha, don't start.
Tell her right there, boo. Tell her you right there, boo. Tell her,
Period.
boo.
No, yeah, no, she was on because I was looking very closely in the beginning, and she checked that box.
Okay.
Right, right. I know that.
Shakari.
Hey,
Period.
Okay, Shakari, 2 minutes.
I'm gonna take 10. So no, but I think for me, I am gonna just say a little bit. I did say I was coming right out of college. So I moved here. So I was looking for someone, even though I wasn't really looking, but I knew that when I eventually got into that serious relationship, someone that was protective. And Gabe is very protective of me. Somebody that I could trust and just be vulnerable with, given just my past. And I knew that there would be a lot of triggers exploring our relationship prior to marriage and just dating, especially just laying it on the table with our intentions. And there were a lot of triggers. And so I think Gabe would say that I cried a lot in the beginning because I was like, oh my God, like this conversation is leading to, this. And so vulnerability was a huge one for me because I did not want to disclose, parts of me, and not necessarily like sexually, but like that intimacy that
I know what
comes
you
with
mean.
having those tough conversations.
I thought
And
if I
so
share some with you, what was he thinking about me? So
he was someone that checked all those boxes. And he
okay.
was
Okay.
because we wasn't gonna be up here for no 5 years just looking at each other in the face, and he wasn't making no moves. We weren't doing that.
if you
Well,
like
okay.
it, put a ring on it.
Well, I
Yeah.
thank you all for showing. I thank you all for joining us. This is Straight Talk, No Chaser with King Taki. I know you had some technical difficulties in the beginning with Candace TW and King Taki. This is our first pilot, our little first show, little test runs. We did go over time. We had technical difficulties, but hey, again, this is a test. So hopefully you guys will start tuning in to our next show. And good night. Oh, and don't give up, ladies.
And